What's up, people? Welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, we're going to be changing up a little bit. I feel like we were getting a little bit sticky. You guys know me. Who's the guest today? Introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Danny. Everyone calls me Danny. I am from Become Elite Academy, based here in Barbados. I've known Carl for quite a few years now. Did some coaching and stuff. And we are both performance specialists, so we were looking into improving athletes in every facet. We're both very holistic oriented people, so we're looking at bringing the best out of athletes when it comes to their mental side, their technical side, tactical side, physical side. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So one of the reasons why I personally really like collabing with you, Danny, is because I give that player mentality as well, you know, that on the field experience, whilst you have a little bit more coaching experience than I do.
Yeah.
So even though you are a player, I've had the privilege of playing, you know, just started earlier, had a chance to play at a little bit higher levels, but you've definitely coached at like higher levels than me as well. And I feel like our underground philosophy of what we do is quite similar. I really wanted to get a chance to kind of pick your brain and like share some of my thoughts as well on some of the more common questions that like youth athletes would be asking when it comes to performance and when it comes to trying to make it to the next level, especially in football. And so we got a couple of questions here that we're just going to run through. So the first question is, what is one crucial factor to playing pro that is not commonly spoken about?
I think it's a great question because a lot of people ask the question kind of flippantly, and then when they hear the answer, they say, "Oh, that makes sense," but then they actually don't understand what it really means. And I would say the biggest factor is being able to deal with rejection and being able to tough out hard times. So a lot of times, your first step to pro is an absolute nightmare. You're going to go to a club where you're competing to take away someone's job, so everyone hates you. You're going to be in a new environment. You're going to be someplace where you can't drink the water, for example, someplace where you get sick, someplace you're a million miles from home, and you're 9 out of 10 times going to be all alone. So I think the biggest factor to playing pro is definitely going to be being able to be mentally resilient, being able to push through and being able to play your game whether or not the team is, you know, working with you, I would say.
Yeah, I would actually say that that's right up there for me as well. So I was actually having this conversation recently about how hard it is to take that first step. But after you get into the pro world, it's much easier for you to make a move. It's much easier for you to, you know, get seriously considered by a team. But getting that stamp, almost getting that, like, you know, that LinkedIn next to your name of professional footballer. Like, exactly. That's like the hardest part. And I think I didn't really understand like how hard that next step would be. And one thing I always like to encourage younger players as well is to try to honestly take that step as soon as possible. Like, if you're good enough, if that is 100% where you want to go and where you want to be, you need to try to get into the pro arena as soon as possible, because then you give yourself a lot more time, not only to play at that level, which we both know, like, if you're playing at that level consistently, you will rise to that level, right? You will get good enough. It's not about, like, yes, you have to have a certain level of predisposition, but if you're in that environment, you will get much better, much more quickly. And the longer that you take to actually take that next step, it's just harder and harder because of how much competition there is, and there's much less upside in terms of the economics of it for a club or agent or that type of stuff to try to get you a professional contract after you're like 20. Let's be real, you know what I mean?
And what I also find interesting about that is that you get a case where there are lots of teams all over the world, Iceland, India, you know, that are actively looking for players, and they will post these advertisements, you know, for clubs, even as close as Canada and the new USL league in the US is going to be saying it. But if you want to apply for a trial or a spot on their team, all of them require you to have professional experience. Any opportunity that you want to get at the pro level right now that you can apply for is going to require you to have pro experience. So it's that catch-22 where you need experience to get a job, but you need a job to get experience. And it's exactly that. And then what you would have to do is try to get your way in. Like, I had a young lady who played for my team who just went to India, and she was able to get her foot in the door, and the club treated her awfully, you know? And you have those experiences. And then we have another young lady who went off, and she was able to get her foot in the door in Turkey, and now we're looking to, you know, try to get her to the next level. And all those situations where you have to go through a lot of grime before you can really, get there. And then once you get there, you can use that as an application to then get back in, at a different club.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we're just going to go on to the second question because it kind of touches a little bit on what we spoke about, and it's what is one common mistake players make when they're trying to play pro?
Yeah. I think one is thinking you've made it already, because overconfidence, complacency will kill you faster than almost anything else.
Yeah.
And I would say another one is giving up. Too soon. Yeah, too soon.
Yeah. To piggyback off that, I mean, we just spoke about the fact that you need to really try to be aggressive in getting that first contract, but then there's also that understanding that signing your first pro contract doesn't mean you've made it. Like that means you've done the bare minimum to start putting in that work. And I think that one thing that I would say the one thing I see, especially from Barbadian athletes, I would say, just because we don't really have the same type of pro landscape, is understanding that being a professional means, it doesn't mean, oh, I have this like sweet lifestyle where I just get to play football and chill. It means structuring 8-10 hours a day around performance.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Scheduling every meal, going for the extra runs, doing the rollouts, like doing the mental training, doing the analysis. It's still a full-time job.
Oh, yes.
You should still be working as hard as
even more.
Even harder than like the average person. But I don't think a lot of athletes, especially from the Caribbean, even know what it means to spend 10 hours a day on their sport.
No.
You know what I mean? But inevitably, that is what it means to be a professional athlete.
Correct. And then at your first professional contract, you're also not really earning a lot of money. So you are basically living off of what the club gives you, and you're still trying to find your feet in, wherever you are, all by yourself. And you still, like you said, have to put 10 plus hours into whatever you're doing. So if you're not disciplined before you go pro, going pro is not going to fix that.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more work you have to do outside of just those training hours that you have.
Yeah. I say 10 hours, but realistically it's 24 hours in it, being a pro.
Yeah, because your sleep has to
be... It's most important.
Yeah, your sleep has to count.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on swiftly. What should you focus on in training to stand out? This is football specific. It's a little bit of a broad question, but that's why I did it, so that we could have some discussions about, like, what do you feel like are the things that, let's say a player who's on the precipice, knocking on the door, what should they really be focusing on to stand out, in your opinion?
I would say muscle memory. So if you look at the difference between a pro and someone who's trying, is just that the pro, like we were just saying, puts 24 hours into what they're doing. They're on the field, 6 hours a day, every single day, So as a result, if you control the ball maybe once every minute, after X amount of hours, you've touched the ball so much more than someone who is, can only give 2 hours after work, right? So if you are looking to go pro, what you have to do is make sure that every time you control the ball, you control the ball like it's second nature. If you have to take a shot, your shot is second nature. If you say you're a free kick taker, you know your free kick routine in your head, like the back of your hand, like you don't even have to think about it, So the more you can make these things second nature and just make it muscle memory, the easier it will be for you, because then that allows you to then be able to process things like tactics, and how that will then help you stand up technically and tactically, and then it will give you the confidence to then play your game. If you don't have to worry about how your first touch is, it's a lot easier to take your first touch and then attack the space or whatever it is you have to do.
Brilliant. So as you were saying that, something came to mind on this same topic, and I kind of want to just toss it out there to hear how you think about it. So you said muscle memory. I remember when I was playing in the US, there was this little bit of a mentality of, to be a professional, you need to be a 10 out of 10 at something. Now, we can all acknowledge that, like, not every player is going to be, fast, big, strong, good, everything, right? But the mentality was you should be a 10 out of 10 at something. So if you're a 10 out of 10 at passing, then you can play pro. If you are 10 out of 10 pace, then that's like the minimum requirement. If you're 10 out of 10 finishing, minimum requirement, and then you can build the rest of these attributes as you will like embark on your professional career. So like, is that your thought process as well? Do you believe that to be true? And if yes, then would the recommendation to someone knocking on the door be figure out what's your one skill, become a 10 out of 10 at that, really use that in games to show that you are a class above everyone else, and then once you can sign that first contract, work on the other attributes in your game? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think what you need to do just to be seen is to have something that you stand out in. So that's, I think, where the 10 out of 10 comes from. So make the scout notice you for something. Make him notice you because you have the best shot, you have the best cross, you're the fastest.
Consistently.
Yeah, consistently. So again, muscle memory and consistency is two things that tie very very closely together. So if you can, enter that flow state where you're not even thinking about what you have to do, you just perform, and you can be a 10 out of 10 in something, then I think that will put you ahead of someone who is maybe 7 out of 10 across the board. Because if you're 7 out of 10 across the board, I have to be watching you for a whole season to then say, okay, this person is incredibly consistent. Whereas, a 10 out of 10 pace is going to catch your eye immediately. So I think that is kind of where the 10 out of 10 has an advantage. But once you make it pro, then it's probably better to be a 7 out of 10 in everything right across the board across the season than to be a 10 out of 10, and then the one day that you come up against someone who's as fast as you come up against a defender who's stronger than you, and you
which there will be,
and then you're completely out the game. So I think the 7 out of 10 will keep you there, but to get there is best if you can find something that will catch someone's eye.
Perfect. How important is recovery and mindset in reaching the highest level?
Yeah, it's definitely something that we spoke about, and it's definitely something that I know you and I are very, very, very we harp on about it a lot, because it is more important than people think, and I think that's because it's just been talked about so much. But then again, there's a reason that it's talked about so much.
And you think about it, I feel like it's one of those things that is talked about so much. Like if you ask the average player, is mindset important? Is mentality important? They would say yes. And then you would say, okay, what do you do every single day for 1 hour to improve your mindset or your mentality? And they can't tell you. And not only can they not tell you what they do, if you ask them what are the things that you should do, they still might. I can bet 80% of athletes don't have that answer. You know what I mean? So I think even though there is a great knowledge and awareness right now about how important the mental side of the game is, I don't think there's enough practical application for the players to know that they're actually working on the game. Because you can track if you're out there, taking shots, if you're taking crosses, but the same way you should be able to track your mental training, you should be able to track. And there is also a difference between tactical side of the game and mental training. I think that is also a model in football. When people say the mental side of the game, I think a lot of players think, like ball knowledge or the tactical side of the game, when that is completely different to the pure confidence and, visualization, that type of stuff.
Yeah. As sports psychology is another thing that's near and dear to my heart. And I think the number one thing that will help a lot of players is awareness. Because a lot of times you realize that, I know it happened to me because I know I was never one of the best players. I was decent, but I was never one of the best. And a lot of times I would walk off the field, and only in the finishing of the game would I go through and realize, I should have done this here, I should have done that there. Whereas, when you really have been training the mental side of your game, you can be in the moment and be like, okay, my last touch wasn't great, I'm a little bit down on myself, here's what I need to do, I need to take a few deep breaths, I need to do this, I need to do this, maybe I do this, whatever. And just like I was telling you not too long ago, your training doesn't really show in the training. It shows in you having a higher percentage chance of success in the moment you need it. So there will still be games where your mentality drops. Maybe you lose your head, you get sent off, something like that. But in the one moment where you need to lock in, there's a much higher percentage chance that, you know, you do that if you have been working on it.
And that's why you try to replicate those same type of scenarios in training so that when you come to the game, have a higher chance of success.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So that's all the questions that we have for today. Didn't want it to be crazy long, but is there anything else that you wanted to ask or tell or share?
I want people to work on, as much as possible, being their I don't want to say empathy, because I find that when you go into football with me only mindset, you end up affecting the whole team. And I realized it a lot in the last few teams, as a coach, where you look at players that are thinking that everything that happens in the team affects them personally, and they only see it from, you know, it affecting them personally, and then as a result they start to build up resentment, and resentment spreads so quickly in a team, because it's always easier to pull people down than it is to help them up. So I think it's definitely just being aware of the team as a whole, and not just your place in it.
I think that's a top tip, and I can share from like a personal perspective. Like even me coming back to Barbados, like naturally for me it was a step down, and I think I used to go with that me mentality all the time of taking like full responsibility for everything happening in the team. So like if the team wasn't playing well, I'll be like, okay, if I'm one of the better players here and the team isn't playing well, then I'm not doing enough. You know what I mean? And that can get toxic really quickly. You need to really get back to that, you know, true team mentality of I am a cog in this moving system. My job is just to do my best, right? But like I still need to try to create an environment where other people can do their best.
That's it.
Yeah.
Supporting others. Yeah.
Exactly. Perfect. All right, brilliant, mate. Thank you so much for your time, as usual.
It was always awesome.
Yeah, this was fun. And let us know down in the comments, guys, if you have any questions. Let me know what you think about this segment specifically. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so that other people can check out this content if you think that is valuable. And I will leave all of Danny's information down below that you guys can check him out and tap in with all the great work that he has going on as well. So thank you so much if you watched till this point in the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.